Okay, let's dive in.
Let's do it.
We are tackling a topic today that, honestly, it sounds like it's pulled straight from science fiction.
It really does.
But the deployment data, the case studies we've been analyzing, this is all very real, very current, pulled from enterprise reports from, late 2025.
Right. This is happening now.
And our focus is on this term we keep hearing, Agentic AI, which, for our listeners, we're not talking about your standard AI that just follows a script.
No, not at all.
We're talking about systems that can actively think, that can plan, and that can act on their own.
Autonomously.
And that's the key word, right? Autonomously.
And we're looking at how this is just fundamentally rewriting the entire commercial engine of a modern business.
Yeah.
Marketing, sales, customer service, all of it.
It's a foundational transformation. And what's really fascinating, I think, when you look through all the source material we have, is the sheer scope of the vision. It's almost philosophical.
I mean, the entire idea, the guiding principle, is built on this one central and, frankly, revolutionary metaphor.
It is.
The idea of turning commercial growth, and they start with marketing, but it really extends to the whole revenue engine into electricity.
Electricity.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, that immediately elevates this conversation.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
It's not just about, optimizing a tool or getting a bit more efficient. This is infrastructure.
Exactly. Think about it. The early 20th century, electricity was this spectacular, kind of dangerous, unreliable thing.
Right. Sparks, giant generators.
Yeah.
You needed an expert to manage it.
And then almost overnight, it became invisible. It became the ambient, reliable power that we just assume is going to be there when we flip a switch.
So is that the ambition here for the entire commercial funnel, to make growth invisible? Assume.
But that is precisely the ambition. The goal is to eliminate all that friction, all the exhausting, labor-intensive, heroic efforts that go into a quarterly campaign.
The big push?
The big push, yeah. And instead, you have this continuous adaptive growth that it flows through the business.
Yeah.
Like a current through a wire.
The sources are really bold on this point. They frame it as the arrival of the age of abundance.
They do, a state that, economists and futurists have talked about for decades.
But it was always theoretical.
And now they're arguing it's being made tangible by machine systems that can handle this enormous volume of knowledge work without ever burning out, without making errors.
I have to push back on that a little, though.
Yeah.
The promise of abundance. It's come up before, right?
Yeah.
And it's often fallen short.
How so?
Well, we figured out how to produce more goods, but the friction of coordination, of distribution, of just getting people's attention, that scarcity remained.
That's a great point, and that's what the sources claim is different this time.
Okay.
Traditional abundance solved for the scarcity of things. Agentic AI, they argue, is designed to solve for the scarcity of optimized action.
Optimized action.
And human attention. Because the agents handle all that real-time processing, that allocation of resources, the execution, the human bottleneck is just removed.
Which allows for this,
Yeah.
this continuous optimized flow.
Yes.
Okay. That sets an incredibly high bar for our deep dive today. So let's lay out the mission.
Right.
We're not talking theory. We have real-world deployment data from late 2025.
And our mission has to be rigorous. So first, I think we have to clearly define the architecture. What are the blueprints that actually make an AI agentic? How is it different from the automation we've seen before?
Okay, define the tech. Got it.
Second, and this is the core of it, we have to dissect the lessons learned. We need to look at the market leaders across the whole funnel marketing, sales, service, and use the reported data to really understand how this change is happening.
The nuts and bolts.
The nuts and bolts. And finally, and this is critical, we have to spend real time on the friction points, the risks, and understand why even as this system gets more and more autonomous, humans are still absolutely essential.
The circuit breakers.
The non-negotiable circuit breakers of the entire system.
All right. Let's flip the switch on phase one. Let's really dig into this utility model. The electricity analogy is powerful.
It is.
When electricity replaced steam, it wasn't just a small speed boost. It totally reconfigured the factory floor.
Right. The power source was decoupled from the machine. You could put machines anywhere.
Exactly. So when we apply that same logic to commercial growth, what does becoming an ambient utility actually look like on a day-to-day basis?
It looks like the elimination of waste, of inefficiency.
Okay.
Marketing, sales, service.
Yeah.
Historically, they've been these powerful but really inefficiently distributed engines.
A lot of heat, a lot of noise.
A lot of heat and noise, and a lot of wasted energy on manual coordination.
Mm-hmm.
The vision here is that growth just becomes assumed infrastructure. It's always on, it's intelligently regulated, and crucially, it's accessible to everyone.
So the whole mindset changes.
Completely. Companies stop thinking about running campaigns. That whole
Right.
concept just sort of fades away.
Instead, they just,
They just plug in.
and when you say plug in, you're talking about what, like a single interface for all this intelligence?
In a way, yes.
So if I'm a CMO who's plugged in, I don't need to worry about how the turbines are working or the state of the grid. I just consume the power.
That's the idea. You focus on strategy, on the why, not the how.
So what are the practical daily processes that this invisible layer is handling on its own?
The sources get very specific here, and the theme is that it has to be continuous and adaptive. It's the opposite of the old, batch and blast model.
Okay, pillar number one.
Continuous ingestion of data, and I mean a ceaseless, multi-threaded flow.
So not just my own company's data, my CRM.
No, that's table stakes. It has to integrate everything, external signals, social media sentiment, cultural trends, device usage, geopolitical shifts, competitor press releases.
It's building a real-time consciousness of its entire market.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's not quarterly reports anymore. It's a constant synthesized stream of what's happening right now.
Which is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
But being all-knowing is one thing. You have to act on it.
And that leads directly to the second pillar. It has to detect shifts in consumer intent before they become obvious.
Before they abandon their shopping cart.
Way before. It's about seeing the weak signals, the search behavior, the questions they're asking on a niche forum, the job change they just posted.
It's moving from tracking behavior to actually predicting the market's psychological state.
Exactly. It's proactive, not reactive.
Prediction is useless without action, though. So what does the system do with that prediction?
This is the third and maybe most critical operational requirement for efficiency. The AI must dynamically allocate spend across all channels without any manual optimization.
So no more setting the budget for the month and just letting it ride.
Gone. Obsolete. The AI is acting like a real-time media trader.
So if it detects a spike in intent around a certain topic on Reddit,
It instantly diverts budget from, say, an underperforming display ad campaign and puts it directly into search terms or targeted content on that topic.
and it triggers outreach, all at the same time.
Instantly. Micro adjustments happening every single second of every day to maximize the return on every single dollar. Humans just can't operate at that speed. The coordination lag would kill you.
Okay, so continuous data, predictive intent, dynamic allocation. What's the fourth pillar?
Internal safety. Self-regulation.
The circuit breaker.
A built-in one, yes.
Yeah.
The system has to enforce its own constraints. It has to manage message frequency so you don't just overwhelm and annoy your customers.
Right, the spam problem.
And it has to ensure that every single action is compliant with privacy laws, with regulations across the globe.
Why is that so critical to build in from the start?
Because at the velocity we're talking about, hundreds of thousands of personalized actions a day, even a tiny error rate becomes a massive scandal, a brand-killing event.
One wrong move, amplified a million times.
You've got it. So the system has to have its own safeguards. The sources draw this great contrast.
Yeah.
They say traditional marketing was like a battlefield, a series of exhausting high-stakes fights.
And the agentic future.
It's like climate control. Subtle, responsive, always working in the background to maintain this perfect, optimal growth environment.
Battlefield versus climate control. I
No.
like that. That really captures the shift.
Yeah.
But I have to challenge this. Is this just about making giant companies even more efficient? The sources talk a lot about democratization. How does that work?
That's a crucial point because historically, winning in marketing or complex B2B sales, it was a privilege.
A privilege of scale.
Exactly. You needed massive budgets. You
Right.
needed elite, expensive agencies. You needed huge in-house data science teams. These systems were built by the rich, for the rich.
So if you were a startup or an independent creator with a better product, you just couldn't compete. The cost of intelligence was too high.
Correct. The utility model, by its very nature, lowers that barrier to entry.
How?
If the intelligence system is built as this foundational, interoperable infrastructure, you don't have to build it yourself. You can access it via an API or an affordable subscription.
You just plug in.
You just plug in, and suddenly a small business or a nonprofit has access to the same predictive modeling, the same real-time optimization as a multinational CPG company.
That really does mirror the expansion of the electrical grid.
It does.
It wasn't just big cities. When the grid reached rural towns, it was a massive driver of small-town economic growth. This is like an equalization of commercial intelligence.
That's the core of the democratization imperative, the idea that in this new age, the best product can actually win. Not because it has the biggest ad budget, but because it can efficiently and ethically access these intelligent engagement systems.
And the numbers are already bearing this out.
The Business Consulting Group report is pretty stark. The early adopters, the ones building this infrastructure now,
Yeah.
are seeing 6.2% revenue growth. The laggards, just 1.2%.
That's a 5x difference. That's not a blip. That's a structural chasm opening up between the haves and the have-nots.
It turns agentic AI from, a cool tech curiosity into an existential necessity. If you're not on the grid, you're going to be left in the dark.
Okay, let's ground this. Because as ambitious as that vision is, the sources are also very sober about where we actually are right now.
Absolutely. They're very clear. We do not have a unified, seamless growth grid yet.
So what do we have?
What we have today is more like a patchwork, a collection of really powerful but still siloed generators.
We've seen incredible progress, for sure.
Immense progress. But it's largely been through what you'd call incremental automation, meaning using generative AI to, draft thousands of ad variations, or using ML models to optimize bids faster than any human.
And those things are hugely valuable. I mean, the sources point to cutting campaign setup times by half, increasing how fast you can experiment by orders of magnitude.
No question. They even mention Head AI's AI marketer as a key signal here.
We're the system that can do the work of a 100-person marketing team.
But, and this is the key distinction, those are still fragmented tools.
They don't talk to each other.
Yeah, not fluently. A human still has to coordinate between the parts. The data pipeline breaks, the model hallucinates and goes off-brand, and you need a person to step in and fix it. We're still in the era of private generators.
So the real transformation, the move to that utility, requires getting past this incremental stage.
It requires a leap to what the sources call adaptive intelligence systems.
And that's where the word agentic becomes the key. What actually makes an AI agentic? It's more than just being good at generating text, right?
Oh, much more. The core shift is from a static linear pipeline. Step A always follows step B to deploying these autonomous reasoning software entities, the agents.
And an agent isn't just a piece of software. It has agency.
Yes. The capacity to make its own decisions under uncertainty, to change its strategy, to learn from what happens in the real world, not just follow a pre-written rule book.
So the old automation is an assembly line. It follows a script.
Perfectly put.
Agentic AI is a self-managing factory. It sees a problem on the line, it diagnoses it, it orders a new part, and it changes the whole production schedule if market demand shifts.
That is the perfect analogy. And to build that self-managing factory, you need 4 indispensable, tightly integrated components.
Okay, let's break them down. Component 1.
First, you need a large language model, an LLM. This is the brain.
The strategic layer.
It's the strategic layer, yes. It has that deep reasoning, that planning capability. It's what takes a high-level goal from a human and translates it into a detailed step-by-step plan.
It figures out the what and the how. Okay, component 2.
Tool access. And this might be the most important part.
Why?
Because without tools, the LLM is just a brain in a jar. It's smart, but it's trapped. It can't do anything.
So tools are its connection to the real world.
They are its hands and feet. Access to APIs, to databases, to live search, the ability to execute code. This is what turns a static model into a living system that can check competitor pricing, execute a trade, or update your CRM.
Got it. Brain and hands. What's number 3?
A robust memory. And this is broken into 2 parts.
Okay.
You have short-term memory, which is just context for the current task. But more importantly, you have long-term memory, usually a vector database, which allows the agent to learn across thousands of interactions.
So it doesn't make the same mistake twice. It gets smarter over time.
Which was the huge flaw in earlier chatbot systems. They were perpetually forgetful. This gives them continuity.
Brain, hands, memory. What's the final piece that closes the loop?
The feedback loop. This is what makes it adaptive.
How does it work?
The agent has to be able to observe the results of its actions. Did that email campaign get a response? Did the customer sentiment improve after our chat? It then has to reflect on that outcome and adjust its internal strategy.
So it's not just executing, it's learning.
It's goal-seeking. That's the essence of agency.
Okay, so that's the architecture. But let's get into the weeds on the engineering patterns,
Mhm.
the actual blueprints that make these things reliable enough for a business to bet on.
Yes, this is what separates the toys from the tools. The first and most fundamental is the reason and act pattern, react.
What is that?
It's an iterative loop that mimics how we solve problems. The agent constantly alternates between a thought step.
Okay, what should I do next?
What should I do next given my goal and what just happened? And then an action step.
Execute this one specific command using my tools.
Precisely. It forces it to be disciplined and check its work step by step, which makes it much more reliable and easier for a human to audit.
So it prevents those massive, unfixable errors. But what about quality control on the output itself?
That's the second pattern, the reflection pattern. Agents are programmed to be their own critics.
So they check their own homework.
They do. Before deploying a piece of content or a plan, a second agent or the same agent in a different mode evaluates it. It looks for factual errors, logical flaws, bad tone.
And then it revises it internally.
It revises it. It's like having a built-in quality control system.
That sounds computationally expensive.
It is. That's the trade-off.
You're essentially running the LLM twice for every one task.
Or even 3 times, and the sources are very clear on this. It adds cost, and it adds latency. So you have to be strategic. You use reflection for high-stakes things like a contract draft.
But maybe not for generating 1,000 bid variations for an ad campaign.
Exactly. It's an artificial conscience, but it comes at a price.
Okay, what about for really big, complex goals? Like restructure our entire sales pipeline. How does an agent not get overwhelmed?
That's where planning and decomposition comes in. The agent takes that monumental goal and automatically breaks it down into small, manageable subtasks.
So increase pipeline velocity by 20% becomes.
It becomes step 1, identify all deals stalled for more than 10 days. Step 2, generate personalized follow-up sequences for those deals. Step 3, update the CRM with a new urgency score for each one.
It reduces the cognitive load. And I guess it lets you tackle the pieces in parallel.
Which brings us to the most advanced pattern, multi-agent collaboration.
This is the digital organization you mentioned.
This is it. Instead of one super agent trying to do everything, you distribute the work across a team of specialists.
Like a real company.
Just like a real company. You have a research agent that just scans for intent signals, a planning agent that just does budget allocation, an execution agent that sends the emails, and a reviewer agent that acts as the final compliance check.
And the sources reference that org chart example from Jacob Bank.
Yes, an org chart of about 40 specialized AI agents all working together across different functions, email, social, partner management, you name it.
And the real unlock there is that coordination between them isn't done in human meetings.
It's done through pure computation. The coordination cost, which is the biggest source of friction in any human organization, just collapses to zero.
And that, right there, feels like the true hallmark of this late 2025 shift. It's not just about automating tasks. It's about automating coordination itself.
It completely changes where humans add value. It's no longer about managing handoffs.
Let's shift now to the direct impact. Let's start with marketing. The numbers on scale and velocity here are they're staggering.
They are. The sources say CMOs are fundamentally shifting their focus from managing teams of people to managing fleets of agents.
And the economic impact is huge. McKinsey estimates that these agents could unlock, over 60% of AI's total value in marketing?
Over 60%. And for the early adopters, the real-world data is even more dramatic. We're seeing up to 15x speed increases in end-to-end campaign creation.
15 times. I mean, how is that even possible? Is that just cutting out a bunch of meetings?
It's cutting out elapsed time due to friction. Think about a traditional campaign workflow.
Okay, you got the brief from the marketing team.
Then it goes to design for a review.
Then legal has to check it for compliance.
Then finance has to sign off on the budget.
And then finally someone manually buys the media. That could be weeks.
Weeks. Easily. An agentic system collapses all of that into concurrent programmatic actions. The AI generates the creative, runs a compliance check against its knowledge base, allocates the budget via API, and launches the campaign.
In minutes.
In minutes. It's the difference between a human orchestra with all its coordination and what the sources call a machine-conducted symphony.
And that symphony has to start with good intelligence. So what happens to the traditional market research function, the painful 6-week-long survey process?
It's completely replaced
Like what?
by always-on insight engines. These agentic systems are constantly ingesting all that data we talked about, social media, earnings calls, forum discussions, and analyzing it instantly.
So market research stops being a rearview mirror.
Exactly. It becomes a forward-looking radar. It doesn't tell you what your customers thought last quarter. It tells you what they're about to need next week.
I remember a specific example from July 2025. An Agentic AI market researcher team was launched. What did it do?
That was designed to simulate human consumer panels at a massive scale.
So instead of getting 10 people in room for a focus group,
You simulate 10 million. The agents analyze linguistic patterns, cultural context, psychological responses, and they can score a new ad campaign for its likely cultural impact before a single dollar is spent.
so the human strategist's job shifts. It's not about crunching data anymore.
It's about acting on the immediate predictive insights from the radar. Their value moves up the stack from execution to true strategy.
And all that high-velocity insight feeds directly into content.
Instantly. Agents manage the entire content lifecycle, generating hyper-personalized emails, ads, landing pages. They're masters of repurposing content for different channels.
But at that scale, thousands of pieces of content a day, the risk of a compliance or brand safety failure must be huge. How do you manage that?
This is a critical lesson learned. You use a dual agent model.
How did that work?
You have your creative agents generating all the volume, but they are policed constantly by specialized governance agents.
So one makes the stuff, the other checks the stuff.
Right. The governance agent is rigorously enforcing brand voice. It's checking against the latest legal standards for your industry, and it's proactively flagging anything that carries reputational risk. Is what makes the speeds safe.
The case study on this was writer's PG Kit-O-Matic.
A perfect example. It takes complex source material like a blog post or a regulatory filing and automatically converts it into a compliant sales enablement kit.
A task that used to take weeks of back and forth between legal, product, and sales.
And shrinks it to minutes because the compliance rules are built into the agent itself.
That built-in autonomous governance is what makes this enterprise ready. Which brings us to the actual execution. Autonomous campaign orchestration.
This is where the symphony plays. Agents are launching, testing, and optimizing campaigns across every channel: paid media, SEO, email, social, all at the same time.
So it's the real-time media trader we talked about earlier.
But for everything, it's constantly managing budgets, rotating creatives based on which one is performing better, running thousands of A/B tests at once. No human team could ever keep up.
And the results are measurable. Campaign launch times down by up to 65%.
And performance improvements, sustained improvements of 30% or more, are becoming the new normal for these early adopters.
The Lindy AI CMO example illustrates this well. It's not one agent, right?
It's a multi-agent team, a whole digital marketing department handling research, analysis, creative experimentation, all in parallel. And it's not optimizing for cheap clicks. It's optimizing for qualified leads and closed deals.
A completely different ballgame. And all of this capacity, this speed, this intelligence, it all funnels into the holy grail of marketing.
Personalization.
True 1.1 marketing at population scale. How does Agentic AI finally crack that nut?
It does it by destroying the whole idea of static customer segments and journeys.
So no more soccer moms, age 35, 45.
Gone. Instead, the agents build these dynamic, living customer profiles that evolve with every single interaction, every click, every page view, every email open.
And it adjusts the experience in real time.
In real time. The offer, the price, the messaging, the tone. If a prospect who's been looking at basic features suddenly revisits your enterprise case study,
The system knows their intent just shifted.
and it instantly triggers a follow-up from a technical specialist agent with a relevant white paper. The responsiveness is total.
I remember one data point on this from the sources that just floored me. From e-commerce.
The 340% conversion lift.
340%. How is a number like that even possible?
It's the difference between knowing, on average, what your customers want and acting instantly on what this specific customer needs right now. It's the moment marketing finally stops being broadcast and becomes a continuous one-to-one conversation at scale.
And that supercharged personalization engine doesn't just stop in the marketing department door. It flows directly into sales.
Immediately.
For years, sales software gave you leverage. CRMs, dashboards, whatever. But the actual cognitive work,
And hard part.
the hard part, deciding who to call, when to call them, what to say, that was all stubbornly human.
And now that entire cognitive layer is being delegated. The sources are really clear on this. Sales software is stopping its life as a passive tool,
And it's starting to act like what?
like a junior sales team. A tireless, perfectly data-driven, relentlessly active junior sales team.
And crucially, these systems are goal-driven.
Yes. You don't give them a script of steps, you give them an objective. Increase our pipeline velocity by 15%. And the system figures out the best way to do that, learns from what works, and optimizes the path to the goal.
Which means all that coordination cost, the handoffs between marketing and SDRs and AEs, it just collapses.
It evaporates. That's why we're seeing these materially faster deal cycles and higher conversion rates. The friction that used to kill deals, the human latency, is just gone.
So let's walk through the funnel, top of the funnel. Prospecting and intent. The old way was buying lists, cold calling.
Hunts.
Right. How do agents change the hunt?
They turn it from hunting into pattern recognition at scale.
Okay, explain that.
The agents are constantly scanning what the sources call the digital exhaust of the economy.
What's that?
Funding announcements, a sudden spike in hiring for a certain role at a company, a shift in their tech stack, specific executives talking about a problem on social media.
Weak signals.
Very weak signals that, in aggregate, allow the agent to infer buying intent long before that prospect ever fills out a form.
So your outreach stops being generic and becomes perfectly timed and contextual. You're not just reaching out to a name on a list, you're reaching out to a living prospect profile.
And the data on this is just undeniable. Outreach that's informed by these real-time signals sees a 47% increase in open rates and a 61% jump in reply rates.
Because you're not guessing anymore. You're present at the moment of need.
Timing and context are the new currency.
Okay, middle of the funnel, qualification and routing. The old way was static lead scoring based on, company size and job title.
Which was always wrong and out of date.
So what's the new way?
Agents analyze the unstructured data, the nuance in an email chain, the specific tone of voice on a recorded call, the questions asked in a webinar chat. They use that to infer real urgency and seriousness.
And then they route the opportunity dynamically.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Prospect from a huge company asking about security. Route them to your top enterprise AE. Someone asking about basic pricing. Route them to a specific nurture track.
So you're not just adding more leads to the pipeline.
You are rescuing intent that would otherwise decay. So much potential revenue used to just die on the vine because of slow, bureaucratic human handoffs. That's a massive value unlock.
Rescuing intent. I love that phrase. For the actual outreach and engagement, the sources talk about a shift from persistence
to presence.
What's the difference?
Persistence is just hammering a prospect with emails on a schedule. Presence is being there, instantly and appropriately, at the exact moment the buyer shows a specific behavior.
They revisit the pricing page for the third time.
And an agent instantly drafts and sends a contextual follow-up. They post on LinkedIn about a problem they're having.
And an agent engages with a helpful resource.
Exactly. But what's really wild, and what the sources flag as the next frontier, are the early experiments where autonomous agents are acting on behalf of the buyer.
Wait, what?
Browsing competitor websites, negotiating provisional discounts, even completing initial purchases.
So a buying agent is talking to a selling agent.
That's the AI to AI frontier we need to talk about later. It suggests the system is becoming a full market simulator.
Wow. Okay. This extends all the way to negotiation and closing. I thought that was the one purely human art form left.
It's becoming partially computational. Agents can parse a 50-page contract in seconds.
Flagging risk clauses.
Simulating deal outcomes based on historical data, recommending data-backed counteroffers, and dynamic pricing comes in here too, adjusting quotes in real time.
So what does all this do to the deal cycle?
For most deals, it shrinks it from weeks to days.
And what about deal value? Are we just closing faster, smaller deals?
The opposite. The sources report an average deal value increase of 19%. Because the agents don't miss details. They ensure pricing is perfectly optimized for the market conditions of that exact moment. They're maximizing value, not just speed.
We need the overall number, the total impact across the whole workflow.
It's a 38 to 40% compression in end-to-end sales workflow time.
And that's not just theory.
That's the elimination of hundreds of hours of manual data entry, scheduling, internal emails, and follow-up drafting.
The land-based GTM1 Omni case study is the big one here.
It's the proof of concept for this entire vision, an autonomous go-to-market system.
And the numbers were.
Over $100 million in pipeline generated in its first year. while simultaneously cutting their outbound operating costs by 70%.
$100 million in pipeline and a 70% cost cut. Let's pause on that. How did they actually structure the agents to do that?
They went all in on the multi-agent collaboration pattern. They didn't just automate tasks, they built a digital org chart
So they had a specialist team of agents for...
for continuous intent scoring, a separate team for adapting and delivering content, and a crucial third team that acted as the internal deal flow manager. Its only job was to update the CRM, trigger the next step, and ensure there was zero latency between marketing and sales.
So the 70% cost saving, it's not the cost of the software. It's eliminating the salary costs of the humans who used to do all that coordination.
The friction cost was the human coordination cost. That's the insight. And that's why Gartner is projecting that these agents will intermediate $15 trillion in B2B spending by 2028.
15 trillion, that number. It's not an industry trend. That is a restructuring of the global economy.
It's a tectonic shift, and it doesn't stop when the deal is signed. It flows right into customer service.
Right, CX. We're moving beyond, the simple reactive chatbots that we all got frustrated with.
Far beyond. The new term is ambient support. The whole focus is shifting from reacting to problems to proactively anticipating needs and resolving issues before the customer even knows they have one.
So instead of better FAQs, we're talking about autonomous agents orchestrating the entire experience.
That's it. And the leaders deploying these systems are seeing huge gains. 30 to 50% efficiency gains in handling times, massive drops in resolution time.
And the strategy is to delegate.
Delegate everything routine to the machines so your human experts can focus exclusively on the high-value, complex, relationship-building interactions.
And they have to because the volume is exploding.
It's a tidal wave. From 3.3 billion automated interactions in 2025
to over 34 billion by 2027.
A tenfold increase in 2 years. You can't hire your way through that. You have to automate.
Let's talk about the first major application here, proactive issue resolution. The sources call it the Sentinel.
The Sentinel is the agent that's always watching, always monitoring the health of the customer relationship and the product.
So it's looking at system signals, usage patterns, transaction data.
Looking for anomalies, a series of failed logins, a degradation in service performance, and it's designed to predict and prevent issues before they ever impact the customer.
So instead of waiting for an angry email,
the Sentinel agent autonomously initiates a corrective action.
Give me some examples. What kind of corrective actions, especially in really high-friction industries?
Okay, in finance, it can automatically detect a fraudulent charge and issue a provisional refund instantly without the customer even having to call.
That's huge.
In a super complex area like healthcare, it's handling things like revenue cycle management, RCM, and prior authorizations.
Okay, we have to pause and unpack those terms. They're jargon, but they represent massive customer pain points.
They do. RCM is the whole nightmarish administrative process of managing billing and payments between patients, providers, and insurers.
Full of errors and delays.
Exactly. And prior authorizations are the hoops insurance companies make you jump through to get a specific treatment approved before you can get it.
Another source of massive delays and stress.
So the Sentinel agent is designed to automate its way through that bureaucracy. It automatically checks the claim, submits the paperwork, follows up. It clears the friction points that make customers miserable.
So it's tackling the worst, most bureaucratic parts of the experience first.
That's where the biggest value is. But it also handles personalized support across every channel. 24/7 support via text, voice, even video.
And these aren't just reading from a script.
No, they have emotional intelligence models. They can detect if a customer is getting frustrated and adapt their tone and style. They act as a true digital concierge.
And they're deeply integrated.
Deeply. They can see your entire history, access the knowledge base, check inventory. Every response is fully context-aware.
And we're seeing this in the wild already.
For sure. Bank of America's Erica is a classic example for personalized banking. Funner is using Agentic AI to handle the chaos of flight cancellations and loyalty program questions, super complex, high-stress situations.
And on the sheer scale front, there's Air AI.
Right. Conducting autonomous, goal-driven service and sales calls 5 to 40 minutes long across 5,000 different applications every single day. The scale is just immense.
So if the AI is handling the proactive stuff, the personalized support, the complex inquiries, what's left for the human CX team?
The agents also handle all the tedious back-end work, the workflow automation and triage.
So they categorize the request.
Enrich the ticket with all the customer's history, route it to the right human specialist, and, this is key, They instantly update the company knowledge base with what they learn from the interaction.
So the whole system gets smarter with every conversation.
Constantly. And it frees up the human experts to only handle the things that require true judgment, creativity, or empathy.
What's the long-term projection here for routine issues?
The projection is that by 2029, Agentic AI will resolve up to 80% of all routine customer issues without any human intervention at all.
80%.
Order tracking, policy questions, subscription changes, all of it handled autonomously. It completely redefines what self-service even means.
It's no wonder that 70% of CX leaders see this as transformative. It feels like customer experience is the function where this is moving the fastest.
It is. Because the data is so dense, the workflows are often repetitive, and the return on investment, lower costs, less churn, higher loyalty, is immediate and easy to measure.
Okay. We have spent a lot of time mapping out the incredible power of this new grid, the efficiency, the scale. But every major infrastructure project has failure points. It has risks. It has constraints. And the sources are really skeptical of this, this myth of human redundancy.
As they should be. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of the work. Marketing, sales, service, at their core, they aren't physics. They are applied psychology.
They're about culture, ethics, trust.
Exactly. An AI can optimize for a click. It can optimize for a conversion. It cannot, on its own, optimize for long-term legitimacy or understand the nuances of a sensitive cultural moment.
So if the AI is the raw electrical current, the humans have to be the system designers and, crucially, the safety regulators.
The circuit breakers.
The circuit breakers, to prevent the whole system from either burning out or, causing some systemic catastrophe.
Yeah. Right. The future described in these sources is strictly augmented. It is a partnership. The machine executes at a scale we can't comprehend, and the human provides meaning, restraint, and direction.
And the sources identify 3 specific, non-negotiable roles for humans here.
3 roles that machines can't and probably shouldn't replace. First is the human as ethical governor.
Meaning?
The AI is brilliant at finding patterns in behavior. The human's job is to decide if that pattern should be exploited for commercial gain, to prevent optimization from becoming manipulation, to protect customer trust.
Okay, that makes sense. The second role is the human as creative catalyst.
Yes, AI is optimized based on past data, is great at creating variations on what has already worked.
It's not great at creating something truly new.
True novelty, counterintuitive strategies, brand-defining ideas, that still comes from the human creative spark. True differentiation will come from human-led novelty, not machine-led optimization.
Ethical governor, creative catalyst, and the third role.
The strategic architect. The human has to make sure this incredibly powerful computational engine is aligned with the organization's mission, its values, its long-term goals, and they have to be the ones to take the controls when the world breaks its own patterns, which is where AI systems always fail.
That is a massive shift for leaders, from managing tactics to architecting systems.
It's the hardest transition they're facing.
Let's talk about the 5 big structural risks, the things that could actually break this grid. Number 1, opacity and trust. The black box problem.
This is a huge one. The most powerful models, the LLMs, are often black boxes. We don't fully understand why they make the decisions they do.
And that's fine for low-stakes things, but for dynamic pricing or loan decisions or medical advice.
It's a massive legal and reputational risk. If an autonomous decision causes harm and you can't explain in an audit why the decision was made, you can't trust the system at scale.
So explainability has to be a design requirement from day one, which leads to the second risk, data privacy and governance.
Compliance can't be an afterthought. With GDPR, with all the emerging AI laws, you have to be able to prove consent, prove control, prove transparency.
So it has to be built in by design. You need those governance agents we talked about, constantly monitoring the data pipeline for any hint of noncompliance.
It has to be the foundation of the entire system.
The third risk point is deeply ironic, given our metaphor: energy and environmental costs.
It is the ultimate real-world friction point. The computational power needed to train and run these massive complex agent systems, the planning, the reflection, the collaboration, it consumes a staggering amount of actual electricity.
So the electric future of marketing has a very real electricity bill.
And a real carbon footprint. And if the computational cost of the agent's intelligence is higher than the margin on the product it's selling, the whole economic model falls apart.
Okay, number 4 is an existential risk to brands themselves. Homogenization risk.
This is what keeps CMOs up at night. If every company, large and small, plugs into the same foundational AI models.
The same optimization engines.
Then brand voices, strategies, and creative will all inevitably start to sound the same.
Optimization leads to conformity.
Exactly. And the whole market could become this bland, hyper-efficient wasteland where no one brand stands out. You have to deliberately build for novelty and differentiation.
The final risk, access inequality, kind of flies in the face of that democratization promise.
It's the dark side of that promise. If the most powerful, most reliable agentic systems remain proprietary and incredibly expensive, only available to the biggest players,
Then it just reinforces the existing monopolies.
it makes them even stronger. Instead of democratizing growth, it creates an even bigger gap between the haves and have-nots. The utility model fails if the grid doesn't reach everyone.
So, despite all the potential, the reality of getting this right has been brutal. The sources say only 34% initial success for these projects.
A 66% failure rate. That's the critical reality check.
So what were the hard lessons learned from all those failures?
The first, and most important, is that data quality matters more than model size.
Garbage in, garbage out.
On an industrial scale, fragmented, dirty, siloed data is like dirty fuel. It causes the agents to make confident but catastrophically wrong decisions. You have to fix your data house first.
The second lesson wasn't technical, it was organizational.
Yes. The rule of process redesign. You cannot just bolt an agent onto a broken, inefficient human process.
It just makes the broken process run faster.
It amplifies the failure. You have to fundamentally redesign and simplify the workflow before you automate it, and that often means painful organizational change.
And the final lesson was about starting small.
Iterative scaling. The teams that succeeded started with one small, well-defined problem. They maintained rigorous human oversight, the circuit breakers, and only gradually increased the agent's autonomy as they earned trust.
So treat it like critical infrastructure, not a cool experiment.
Exactly. Demand reliability, demand auditing, demand observability.
It seems like the one rule for success that governs this whole thing is pretty simple.
Autonomy where safe, humans where it matters.
That's the hybrid partnership. It's not about who has the biggest model. It's about who designs the smartest, safest, most intentional workflows.
Precisely.
That brings us to the end of this deep dive. And what a journey. We've gone from this, philosophical metaphor of electricity all the way to the hard engineering of agentic systems.
From theory to the real world, high-stakes deployments we're seeing across the entire commercial funnel in late 2025.
And the trajectory is it's clear. It's irreversible. Agentic AI is moving from being a clever tool to being the actual operating system of the AI-first enterprise.
It's becoming foundational infrastructure. It's designed to replace friction and inefficiency with this ambient adaptive power.
And the core philosophy driving it all is this pursuit of commercial systems that are continuous, adaptive, and, hopefully equitable. We saw that incredible detail that agents are already handling contract negotiation, they browse competitors, they're even completing purchases on behalf of buyers.
That detail of the autonomous buying agent is probably the most provocative structural change in all the source material.
Why?
Because it means the system is learning to manage and optimize the demand side of the equation just as efficiently as it manages the supply side.
Okay, so here's the final provocative thought for you, our listener, to mull over as you process all of this.
Okay.
If AI agents are already handling 80% of routine service issues, launching campaigns 65% faster, and closing the computational side of human sales deals, what is the next logical evolutionary step in global B2B commerce?
If the buyer is an agent and the seller is an agent, the most efficient path is no longer a human-to-human conversation.
It's AI-to-AI negotiations and autonomous deal structuring. Just consider the immense global implications. When two self-optimizing agents, one representing a massive global supplier, the other a massive corporate buyer, can structure, negotiate, audit, and close a multi-million-dollar supply contract completely autonomously, based on real-time inventory, real-time market data, and their own optimization goals.
The human role becomes setting the strategic goals and the ethical guardrails, and then letting the agents find the optimal outcome within those constraints.
So the final question is this: what does human trust even look like in a global commerce system that's driven primarily by machine-to-machine interaction?